In 1798, at the height of his rising power, Napoleon Bonaparte made a decision that shocked Europe. Instead of marching toward another easy victory, he sailed into the unknown, across the Mediterranean, into the ancient land of Egypt, a land of deserts, pyramids, and empires long buried beneath the sands. To many, it seemed like madness, but to Napoleon, it was the next step toward greatness. What followed was not just a military campaign. It was a story of ambition, brilliance, mystery, and the first cracks in a legend. The year was 1798, and Europe was still reeling from the shock of Napoleon's victories in Italy. In just over a year, he had transformed a starving army into a force that defeated Austria and reshaped the balance of power. His name was now spoken across the continent, not just as a general, but as a rising force in history itself. But Napoleon was not satisfied. Victory in Italy had made him famous. It had given him influence, but it had also made him something else: dangerous. The French government, known as the Directory, began to grow uneasy. Napoleon was young, popular, and increasingly powerful. Too powerful. So when he proposed an expedition to Egypt, they listened. Egypt at the time was part of the Ottoman Empire, but in reality it was controlled by the Mamluks, a powerful military class that ruled the land. More importantly, Egypt was strategically vital. It sat between Europe and the East, between the Mediterranean and the route to India. And India was the key. Britain's wealth depended heavily on its trade with India. If France could threaten that route, if Napoleon could establish a presence in Egypt, it could weaken Britain without ever invading its shores. It was a bold idea. Dangerous, uncertain, full of risk. Exactly the kind of idea Napoleon favored. And so in May 1798, he set sail. The fleet was massive, over 300 ships carrying more than 35,000 soldiers, along with scientists, engineers, and scholars. Napoleon was not just bringing an army, he was bringing an expedition of discovery. Because this campaign was not only about war, it was about legacy. As the ships moved silently across the Mediterranean, secrecy was everything. The British Navy, led by Admiral Horatio Nelson, was searching for them. If the fleet were discovered and destroyed at sea, the entire mission would end before it began. For weeks, the French fleet slipped through the waters, avoiding detection. Then, in June, they reached their first target, Malta. The island, controlled by the Knights of St. John, was a strategic stronghold in the Mediterranean. Napoleon wasted no time. Within days, he forced its surrender. It was quick, efficient, and almost effortless. But Malta was only the beginning. The real objective lay further south, Egypt. In July 1798, the French fleet arrived off the coast of Alexandria. The landing was chaotic. Strong winds, rough seas, and confusion made the operation difficult. Soldiers waded through water, dragging equipment behind them. There was no grand, organized invasion, only urgency. Napoleon knew speed was critical. If they hesitated, the Mamluks would have time to gather their forces. So he pushed forward. Alexandria fell quickly. It was not heavily defended, and the French took control with minimal resistance. But this was not the victory that mattered. Cairo was the prize.
To reach it, Napoleon and his army had to march across the desert. For European soldiers, the desert was unlike anything they had ever experienced. The heat was relentless, water was scarce, sand stretched endlessly in every direction. There were no forests, no rivers, no familiar landscapes, only emptiness. Men struggled to keep pace, supplies ran low, the sun beat down without mercy. It was not just a physical challenge, it was psychological. But Napoleon pressed on. He knew the Mamluks were coming. Led by powerful leaders like Murad Bey, the Mamluks were legendary warriors. They were masters of cavalry, known for their speed, skill, and fearlessness in battle. Their charges were devastating, fast, direct, and often overwhelming. On open ground, they were nearly unstoppable. Napoleon understood this, so he adapted. As his army moved closer to Cairo, he prepared them for a different kind of battle. Then, on July 21, 1798, near the village of Mbabe, the two forces met. In the distance, rising above the desert, stood the ancient pyramids. For thousands of years, they had watched empires rise and fall. Now, they would witness another. Napoleon looked at his men and is said to have declared, "Soldiers, from the heights of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down upon you." It was more than a speech. It was a reminder that they were part of something greater, something that would be remembered. The Battle of the Pyramids began soon after. The Mamluks charged. Thousands of cavalry surged forward, their armor gleaming in the sun, their horses kicking up clouds of dust. It was a terrifying sight, but the French did not break. Instead, they formed squares, large, disciplined formations of infantry, with soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder, bayonets facing outward, artillery positioned at the corners. It was a defensive formation, but also a trap. As the Mamluks charged, they met a wall of gunfire. Cannons fired, muskets roared, the squares held firm. Again and again the cavalry attacked. Again and again they were repelled. The battle was brutal, but it was one-sided. The Mamluks, for all their skill and bravery, could not break the French formations. Their charges lost momentum, their losses mounted, and slowly the tide turned. By the end of the day, the Mamluk army was shattered. Napoleon had won. It was a decisive victory. Cairo soon fell, and with it, control of Egypt. For a moment, it seemed that Napoleon had once again achieved the impossible. The desert had more to reveal. Because while Napoleon had defeated the Mamluks on land, something else was happening at sea, and it would change everything.
In August 1798, the British fleet finally found the French. Anchored in Aboukir Bay, the French ships were caught off guard. Admiral Nelson launched a daring attack, striking from both sides of the anchored fleet. The Battle of the Nile was devastating. One by one, French ships were destroyed. Explosions lit up the night sky. Fires spread across the water. Chaos consumed the fleet. By morning, the French Navy was gone, destroyed. Napoleon's army was now stranded in Egypt, cut off from France, cut off from reinforcements, cut off from escape. It was a turning point. And for the first time, Napoleon was truly isolated. Still, he did not give up. Instead, he turned inward. If he could not return to France, he would build something in Egypt. He established administration, reformed systems, and even brought scholars to study the land. It was during this time that the famous Rosetta Stone was discovered, a key that would later unlock the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. But beneath the surface, problems were growing. Revolts broke out in Cairo. Local resistance increased. The French were seen not as liberators, but as occupiers. Napoleon responded with force. Harsh measures were taken to maintain control. The campaign,
once filled with promise, was becoming more complicated, more uncertain, and more dangerous. In 1799, seeking to regain momentum, Napoleon launched a new campaign, this time into Syria. He aimed to strike at Ottoman forces before they could gather strength. Cities fell, victories were won, but the campaign was not easy. Disease spread among the troops, supplies ran low, resistance grew stronger. At the city of Acre, Napoleon faced one of his greatest challenges. The siege dragged on, defenses held, British support strengthened the defenders, and for the first time in years, Napoleon failed. He was forced to retreat. It was a rare defeat, and it marked the limits of his reach. By the time he returned to Egypt, the situation had changed. France needed him. Political instability was growing, opportunities were emerging, and Napoleon made a decision. He would leave. In secret, he sailed back to France, leaving his army behind. It was a controversial move. Some saw it as abandonment, others saw it as necessity. But Napoleon saw it as destiny, because what awaited him in France was greater than any battlefield: power. The Egypt campaign did not end in total victory. It was not like Italy. It was not clean, decisive, or complete, but it was important. It revealed something new about Napoleon: his ambition, his willingness to take risks, his ability to adapt, and his limits. Because for the first time, he faced failure, isolation, and uncertainty. Yet even then, he rose. The legend did not end in Egypt. It evolved. Because the man who left those deserts behind would soon return to France and take control of it completely. And the world would never be the same again.